My name is Bernard Williams, and I'm a business attorney with a law firm called Company Counsel, and you're listening to How Was I Supposed to Know That? This is a podcast designed for business owners who want to focus on accelerated growth while figuring out how to avoid trouble simultaneously. And we've been talking recently about strategic partnerships, and I'd like to continue that conversation today. And so we've talked recently about some of the reasons that someone might want to consider entering into a strategic partnership. And now let's imagine that we're at the part of that conversation where you're convinced and where you say, all right, Bernard, I get it. Strategic partnerships is a path for growth. It's a way that I can save money. It's a way that I can gain access into different places. You've convinced me. I'm interested, and in fact, I've got an initial meeting lined up with a prospective strategic partner. What now? Well, the what now and how to prepare for that initial meeting is exactly the focus of today's discussion. When you're at the point where you've talked to somebody, you've maybe had that initial getting to know you conversation, and you've agreed that maybe it makes sense for us to talk about collaborating. So first of all, you tend to speak in very generic terms at the very beginning, at the very outset of this relationship. Nobody wants to offer too much. Nobody wants to reveal too much. It's almost like a game of chicken where you want to gauge interest and you want the other side to know that you're interested. But you don't want to appear desperate, and you don't want to lose any leverage in the negotiations. So those initial conversations tend to be feeling out types of conversations where you might feel like progress is slow and not a lot of traction is going on. But the reality is that there's a lot that's happening beneath the surface. And not only is there a lot that's happening beneath the surface that you want to be aware of, you also want to be aware, walking into that initial meeting, what to expect and how best to prepare for it, so that the outcome is something that gets you further along to meeting your goals. So what do I mean by that? When you walk into that initial meeting with the prospective strategic partner, there's three questions that I recommend you get answers to, and maybe even that you get answers to in writing as part of your preparation. The first question is, what exactly do you hope to accomplish with this particular strategic partnership? Now, yes, we've talked about some of the reasons why strategic partnerships are good in general, but when it comes down to it, a strategic partnership is ultimately a relationship between your company and another company, between one entity and another entity. So when you get down to that level of granularity, what is it about this particular partnership that you're trying to accomplish? And there might be a variety of reasons that are all valid, but what you want to focus on is what are the reasons for you and for your company that align with your vision, and be specific. And typically, when there is a goal that you're trying to achieve as a business person, you attach some sort of a metric or a number to it to help you evaluate whether or not you've met that metric, or whether or not you're on track to achieving that goal. So if your reasons for entering into the strategic partnership are that you want to increase revenue, then maybe attach a dollar figure to that goal and say that the goal of the strategic partnership is to increase your revenue by X amount by X date. The more specific that you're able to be, the clearer you'll be about whether or not your strategic partnership, once you've actually entered into it, is on track, and whether or not it's serving the purpose that you originally wanted to serve. But let me not get too far ahead of myself. Before you even walk into that first meeting, you want to have a very good idea of what it is that you're aiming for, so that you're able to structure a deal and to navigate the transaction so that it's aligned toward ultimately achieving that objective. Remember to be as specific as possible. The second question that you want to ask and that you want to answer for yourself, preferably in writing, is why this partner? Again, yes, you've decided that a strategic partnership in general makes sense, but it's one thing to say that you want to have a partnership in general, and another thing to say, I've identified this particular company, and I want to work with this particular company in this particular type of arrangement for this particular reason. It's very important to, again, be specific about why you've identified the particular person or company that you're meeting with, to to make sure that you're asking the right types of questions during that conversation. And the analogy that I like to draw here is to marriage, to the wedding bliss. And it's one thing for someone to say, for anybody to say, I want to get married one day. I want to have a spouse. And it's another thing to say, I want to get married to that person, to that individual. And that's a very, very, very different sentiment. And someone who says, I want a spouse, any old spouse, likely isn't going to have particularly high standards, and likely is not going to have a particularly successful marriage, even if they were to find someone willing to be married to them. In contrast, someone who's very specific about what they feel about that one person, about that one individual, enters into the marriage for very different reasons, and that marriage is much more likely to be successful. And similarly, in a business relationship, having this kind of very general sense of wanting to collaborate with somebody is fine in the abstract, but to really get the most out of a particular business arrangement, you want to know what it is about that particular arrangement and about that particular party that's attractive to you, and what it is about them that makes you want to do business with them. And if you're not able to discern what it is about them that separates them from someone else in their industry, someone else in their city, someone else that might look like them on paper, if you're not able to articulate what it is about them that makes them a good fit, then I would encourage you to take a step back and think about whether or not you're really ready to engage in a part of conversation with this entity. The third question that I encourage you to ask is, what's your plan B? By nature, entrepreneurs tend to be optimistic. We tend to think that things are going to work out, and that if we try something 100 times and mess up 99 times, and all that means is that we found 99 things that haven't worked. Right? That's kind of the mindset of the entrepreneur, and I love that. I love being around that sort of positivity. But sometimes that positivity and that optimism blinds us to the fact that not everything works out, nor should everything work out. And sometimes you get red flags, and you pick up on little clues early in the process that should let you know that maybe this is not the right type of deal for you. Maybe this is not the right partner. Maybe it's not the right arrangement. Maybe there's something about this scenario that just doesn't fit, right? So if you're getting red flags, if you are, if things just don't feel right, if whether or not you can put a finger on it or not, it doesn't really matter. You want to make sure that you know that if the transaction breaks down, if the deal doesn't go through, if both sides walk away, what's your plan B? And once you know what your plan B is, that gives you the confidence to operate in negotiations from a position of strength, rather than a position of desperation or a position where you're just trying whatever you can to hold on to this deal, right? The deal may be important, the deal may be a game changer for you, but ultimately, as the owner of your company, you've got a duty to your company to do what's right for your company, and if walking away means that's the best decision at this time for your company, then that's what you've got to do, despite how attractive the potential upside might be in getting a deal done. So think about those three questions and be really, really honest with yourself, and write down the answers to those three questions before walking into that initial meeting. And then the other thing that I encourage you to do is to remember that this is a two-way conversation, and that they have a side also, that your prospective partner also has a point of view. So what I would encourage you to do for that reason is to ask those same three questions, but from the perspective of the other side, from the perspective of your potential strategic partner. So ask yourself, what is it that you think they want to accomplish with this strategic partnership? And there's an example that I heard about recently, where someone was very excited. They had a software product, and they'd been approached by a service-based company for the purpose of discussing a potential partnership. And the idea was that the service company and a software company would combine. They would share revenue, they would share referrals, and they both would grow together, more quickly together. So the owner of the software company was very excited, and she walked into the initial meeting prepared to talk about this potential partnership. Well, not long into the meeting, she discovered that what she thought was going to be a conversation about a partnership really wasn't a conversation about a partnership at all. In fact, what the service company was interested in was not a true partnership, at least not the way that any of us would think about it. What they were interested in was more of an acquisition. They saw this software company as a target. So they might have used the language of partnerships and of collaboration and of working together, but in their mind, the way that they wanted to partner was by owning this software company, calling the shots, and proceeding in that way. Well, suffice to say, that's not what the owner of the software company had in mind. So once she became aware of what the other partner, or rather what the other prospective partner was interested in a particular partnership, she realized that that didn't align with her vision, and they were able to end the talks pretty early on. But understanding what it is that the other side is trying to get out of the partnership as early as possible will help you to make good decisions and to navigate accordingly. And then secondly, ask yourself, what is it about you that's appealing to that other side? And similarly, you don't want somebody who just wants a partner, any partner will do. You want someone who's interested in you specifically or in your company specifically. And even more than that, you want to understand what value they think you and your company bring to this situation, because that's going to give you insight as to how you're going to be treated and what you're going to be expected to actually contribute and accomplish throughout the course of the partnership. There have been lots of examples that I've seen where people talk, very generally about a partnership, and one partner thinks they're going to do A, or they're going to do one set of things, and another side thinks they're bringing them on to do something that's completely different. Make sure that you have a really good understanding of what it is about you that they value, and the corollary is, what are they going to be expecting you to actually contribute and do throughout the course of the partnership? And finally, what's their plan B? Again, or what happens if a deal isn't reached? Will they try to negotiate a similar deal with somebody else? Will they go back to the drawing board? Will they go back to business as usual? Try to get an understanding of where they're coming from, because again, that'll help you to understand what your leverage is and what your negotiating posture should be as you continue the negotiations and the discussion. What you're aiming for here is not a scenario where you win and they lose, right? You're not looking for a scenario where you beat up your opponent. And in fact, you shouldn't even be looking at your partner as an opponent, because that's not the right way to enter into a fruitful strategic partnership. Rather, what you're trying to accomplish is a win-win scenario, where you walk into this with your eyes wide open and you're clear about what you want and you're clear about what you want to contribute, and your partner does the same thing. They're clear about what they're looking for, what they're going to contribute, where you can both think ahead, you can both be proactive, and you can both carve out a path that's more likely to be a win-win scenario for you, and that avoids problems, that avoids disputes, that avoids the kinds of things that derail progress for both of you. So by walking into your initial meeting, having thought about these steps and having answered these questions, you're much more likely to leave with either the beginnings of a strategic partnership that can really, really be a win-win for both of you, or at least the knowledge that you gave your best and that it's time to move on to something that may be a greener pasture for you. If you have any questions about this, if you are thinking about a strategic partnership, if you're preparing for an initial meeting and you want some suggestions or some assistance, I would love to help. You can reach me at bwilliams@companycounsel.law or by phone at 484-325-5660. My name is Bernard Williams, and you've been listening to How Was I Supposed to Know That?